Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Mike Burstyn and Friends. Today, I have a very special friend that's joining me from Israel. I'm in Los Angeles, and the magic of Zoom allows us to meet quite often. Let me just tell you very briefly a little bit about her, and uh, then I'll introduce her to you. Uh, my dear friend Denise Aharon is the co-founder of Make-A-Wish Israel. And for 25 years, Denise, together with her husband Avi, has been providing magical wishes for seriously ill young Israelis ages 3 to 18. She and her husband founded the Israeli affiliate of Make-A-Wish in memory of Denise's brother, David Sparrow, who died at age 29 from esophageal cancer. Denise wanted to commemorate her brother's life and recalling her volunteer work for Make-A-Wish when she lived in the United States. She contacted the organization's worldwide headquarters in the United States and established the Israeli affiliate. Bar Aharon tells me that Make-A-Wish Israel has granted over 4,300 wishes already to children. So let me introduce to you, and let me also let you see her, which is more important. Hi,
Hi,
Denise. Hi, how are
hi,
you?
how are you? What a pleasure. What an
I,
honor to be on your show. How
oh,
are you?
I'm well. You and I, have been communicating via this modern miracle because you invited me recently to join the board, and I'm very honored to join the board of Make-A-Wish Israel. And I'd like to start by, first of all, telling you that you look lovely.
Thank you. You're
as
so kind.
always, as always.
Yeah.
Uh, let's start by telling us a little bit about you and how it is that you live in Israel. You were born in Los Angeles, right?
I was actually born in Mineola, New York, but at six
Oh,
months moved.
okay.
I've never been to Mineola. But yes, I grew up in Los Angeles and Israel. My parents made Aliyah when I was 8 years old. I don't know if you know this story, and
No.
they're true Zionists. And we moved to Kibbutz Rosh Hashanah. I was a kibbutznik. I lived in the children's home, as did my brother and sister, and it was beautiful. And then we moved back to the US a few years later. And I had the Israel bug within me. So when I met an Israeli later on in life, it brought me back to Israel.
Where did you meet?
We met in New York City. I was going to FIT, the Fashion Institute of Technology, and he was one of four young, beautiful soldiers right out of the army doing their trip. And he was clever enough when I showed him around New York to buy me a rose from a vendor on the street.
And that was it? That
Well,
did it?
no,
That did it.
yeah, but
Ju-
that was smart. That was
ju-
not it. That was smart.
Just to clear up, so people will understand, when you said you lived in a children's home,
Oh, yes, please.
a kibbutz is a communal, community in Israel. But the children at that time, still in some kibbutzim, lived separate from the parents. So
Right.
you weren't put in a home.
No,
You-
I wasn't. I was with children my own age,
right.
and then see your parents in the evenings and on the weekends. But it was a wonderful experience. It
Yeah.
really was. My father from Los Angeles, here he was in the insurance business, and he was in the avocado fields. The best time of his life, really, as well. I
I
think
still
it was wonderful.
I still eat his avocados.
Oh,
Imported from Israel. Okay,
yes, of
so
course.
the two of you met in New York, and how did you decide to make Aliyah? Aliyah,
So,
which means, I'm sorry for those who may not be
yeah,
familiar,
please.
it means Aliyah is to go up, literally, and it means to come back to Israel, to back to live to Israel. How did that happen?
Exactly. So my husband, ended up moving to Los Angeles, where I grew up after we were married, because I was in New York at school. And he said, I want to raise the kids in Israel. And I said, I love Israel. That's what actually was something that I was very attracted to when I met him. And so I said, let's do it. So when my daughter was 1.5 on a very interesting date, I'll tell you about that, we made the move back to Israel in 1991, January 15th. If any of your viewers remember that date, I can remind them.
Please do.
The ultimatum of the Gulf War. Saddam Hussein said that if Israel launches any weapons, they will launch chemicals onto Israel. And it was January 15th. And we moved back with my daughter. I was interviewed in Los Angeles on Channel 13, I think, news, the comings and goings of Israel, holding my 1.5-year-old baby, who is now 32. And they said, why are you going back to Israel now? There's many people downstairs coming back to Los Angeles. And I said, because I really trust the state of Israel and the army. And as the followers of the Gulf War, we were all in shelters, and the Israeli army could do nothing. We had to just wait it out. So that was very interesting. But I always say everything went up from there, because I made Aliyah on the day of the war.
Well, I can tell you that I was doing a play in New York exactly at that time, The Rothschilds. And when the war broke out, the first missile fell on Ramat Gan. I got on a plane and left my show, and my producers wanted to fire me, but I said, no, I have to go back. I was doing my reserve, my miluim, my reserve service then in the Army spokesman's office. And so I got on the plane and flew to Israel, and they did an article about me in the New York Post. They said, why are you going back? I said, because Israelis have a very strange characteristic. Most people, when there's an explosion, they run away from explosions. Right. We run towards the explosion. And so I spent a week doing my service. And I remember that was some time, and it's been, oh my God, it's been 30 years.
30 years.
It's yeah, this year is 30 years. It's hard to believe. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. So tell us a little bit now about why and how. Well, I mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, but how did you get to create and establish this amazing organization? First of all, a little bit about Make-A-Wish. What does Make-A-Wish do?
Certainly. Make-A-Wish, our whole goal is to fulfill the wish of a child that has a critical illness between 3 and 18. And a lot of people think it's just cancer, but it's not. It's a child that has will have a transplant, heart disease, very interesting other diseases that you never want to really know their names. And I'm pleased to say that when I was on the international board of Make-A-Wish, I was able to have terrorist attacks put on that list. So if a child was in a terrorist attack, he's also qualified to receive a wish from Make-A-Wish. So what our feeling is when a child receives their greatest wish, the wish of their heart, that something chemically happens in their body, and they're more apt to taking their medicine, to eating. If a child that wants to see Leo Messi, a very famous soccer player, knows that they can meet him, the nurses use that as part of their treatment. What do you mean you don't want to take this? Messi is waiting for you. Or a child that wants to go to Disneyland or meet Beyonce, or children that want to come to Israel from other chapters. By the way, we're in 50 countries around the world. And if a child wants to come to meet Shimon Peres, I would set that up. And if a child from Israel wants to be a pasta chef in Italy, then Italy helps me with that. So it's
actually, I'm sorry,
remarkable.
you mentioned to me, and it's one of the fascinating stories is that when Barbara Streisand came for Shimon Peres's birthday, tell us about that. You arranged
it. Yes, it was. I arranged a meeting. I'm very, very proud to say, even when the Pope came to Israel, the only foundation he saw, and there are 28,000 foundations in Israel, was Make-A-Wish, because Make-A-Wish is the most loved children's charity in the world. So the Barbara Streisand story is, it's remarkable. And I think I have a video that we might be able to share. She said she'd be delighted. We brought about 15 children to meet her and Shimon Peres. And when I walked over to her to give her a necklace and said, this is a Make-A-Wish necklace that says hope, strength, and joy on it, she said, if he asks me to sing, I won't. If he asks me to sing, you'll have to add. I said, I'm gonna do that for Barbara Streisand. And she said, I'm not going to sing. I have to save my voice for tomorrow night.
Right.
To make a long story short, you have the ceremony. I was the MC for this. And he said, Barbara, let's sing, please, a song, Shalom Aleichem. And he starts singing, and I sang for her. It was
The child asked her to sing that, or
no,
Paris?
Simone Paris
Paris,
said,
right.
Barbara, you have an angelic voice. Would you please sing a song for us, Shalom Aleichem, or Shalom Aleichem, or another, say Shalom, one of the songs. And she looked at me and I looked at her and I said, this is not happening in my life. And I sang, and she just moved her mouth.
Do we
She
have the
didn't-
video for that?
I do. I
Okay,
do.
We'll put it up. We'll put it
Okay.
up.
So that was a moment. That was a moment. She was thrilled to meet the Make-A-Wish Israeli children. There are magical moments. We have been doing this, like you said, for almost 26 years, and we've granted almost 5,000 wishes during that time. And I'm as enthusiastic today as I was day one. It's just such a high.
Now, how do they come to, do you seek them out, or do they come to you?
Yes, all of the social workers in the hospital work with these children, of course, and they know about Make-A-Wish, and they send us the forms. They'll go to the child and say, would you like a wish? All of the children are approached by the social workers and asked if they would like a wish, and then they contact us. They send in the paperwork and they contact us, and then we reach out and set up the interview, always two people, to make sure that it's the wish of the child and not of the parent. I learned that from my colleagues in America, that a child could say, I really want an iPad. And the father could say, didn't you say Las Vegas? No, I really want an iPad. So to really separate, if possible, the children, to separate the children and the parents, and find out the true wish. I'm not sure if your viewers are familiar with Dr. Tal Ben Shachar.
I am, yes.
Remarkable.
Tell us a little bit about him.
So Tal Ben Shachar is a dear friend, and he is the happiness professor from Harvard. Oprah actually wanted him to be on her show, but he said, no, I want to move back to Israel with my children. He's written several books, and he said, how can I help you? So I said, I would like it if you could do research study proving that wishes are saving lives. And he said, I'll get my team on it. And at the Meitiv Center at Rekanati University here in Israel, they did research, and with a control group and everything, proving that wishes are in fact helping the life of a child, that wishes are not just nice to have, but they're must-haves. And that's been translated, I'm very happy to say, in 7 languages. And it's used all over the world. So a wish is not a gift. It's truly, if somebody reaches deep inside of themselves and says that they want to be the CEO of Google, I take them to Google Israel, and they sit in his chair, and they are able to do some of the things together with him during the day, and they feel empowered. It's incredible. There's 4 categories. If a child wants to meet someone, they can go somewhere, be something, or receive something, and then we pick one of those 4.
This is going to be a hard question, because it's like asking who's your favorite child, but do you have a favorite wish that was granted?
Well, I happen to say that I loved Yoni Dotan, actor, performer, Israeli performer, Dudu Dotan's son. If any of you know him, his son Yoni Dotan, when he was 16, he asked to meet President Clinton. And we made that happen. It was an incredible wish. The president said that he would give him 7 minutes. That's what they usually do. He was in the Oval Office for 20. And when asked by the Secret Service of the White House, will he be bringing a gift because it has to pass security? Yoni said, what will I bring him? And I said, why don't you bring him a t-shirt that says, I met Yoni Dotan. And he did. And he said, Mr. President, will you wear that? And he said, I promise you I will. And I have a picture of him in the park running with Chelsea after he had knee surgery. And it says in the caption, who is Yoni Dotan? And that was wish number 34. It put us on the map. That wish was in USA Today, in the Washington Post. It put us on the map. And from there, we've grown significantly. Like I said, almost 5,000 wishes, but that was a favorite for sure.
Well, I know that you're coming to visit pretty soon the States, and you'll be here in Los Angeles to meet with some people. And there's going to be, we're going to have an event here, hopefully this spring, which
Yes.
we'll talk about when it actually happens. Before it happens, we'll invite anybody here that would like to join us. There's going to be an event this December, which we will be participating in, Make-A-Wish Israel, at the Disneyland. Can we tell me a little bit about that?
Certainly. What we've done, the CEO of Make-A-Wish Los Angeles and myself, we've created what's called the shared appeal. And we really believe that a child is a child. And because I'm from Los Angeles, we will be doing fundraisers together. This particular one is the Los Angeles fundraiser at Disney, and certainly people can call the Los Angeles office to inquire about tickets and sponsorships. And yes, we will be there. And in May, we are hoping to have a beautiful event in a beautiful home. You're all invited. But as Mike said, now when am I coming? November 28th until December 9th, I'll be in Los Angeles, and I would love to meet any of your viewers one-on-one to talk about their involvement. If they would like to get involved, have me come and speak at their shul the next time I'm in Los Angeles, their schools. A lot of children want to do their mitzvah project with Make-A-Wish. I'm speaking to Heschel School in Northridge when I'm there to 100 children. I just got the confirmation today. So, and they're all bar bat mitzvah children. So if anyone is interested, they can certainly reach Mike, let him know, and I'd be happy to come.
Well, obviously, we're talking about 2021 because yes,
right now.
My Burstyn and Friends is up on YouTube. It's now on Juicy TV, which is a new streaming Jewish service, which I am also involved in. So you'll be able to see this on Juicy TV. But let me also ask you, how can, if someone wants to donate directly from the United States to, or anywhere else for that matter, to Make-A-Wish Israel, is that possible, or does that conflict with the local Make-A-Wish?
No, not at all. They can, if they want to give to both Make-A-Wish Israel and Los Angeles, just to mention that when they make the donation, but they can go in for Israel, they can go into Google and just write Make-A-Wish Israel. Don't forget the Israel. It will open up our website, and they'll see the ability to press donate there, of course. They can get a tax receipt, a U.S. tax receipt. We have an organization that does that. That's very important.
So, and I will put up the website address here as well. We'll bring it up so we can see that. Well, I have been involved in many different charities. I think the old saying is it's much more rewarding to give than to receive.
Mhm.
but children are the most important, really. That's our future. I'm involved in Israel with an organization called Yedidim. We help children that are at risk, youth that are at risk in Israel. And Yedidim just received an award in
Mm.
Israel, which we're very proud of. But most importantly, when you have personal experiences, seeing uh, the results are more than, a picture is more than 1,000 words. I know that my son's fiance lost her 15-year-old daughter to cancer, and before she, when she was still able to move around, she had a wish, and Make a Wish Los Angeles granted her wish. She wanted to be in Paris and visit the fashion houses. She was very
Oh my
interested in fashion, and Make a Wish Los Angeles granted that wish. They flew her and her mother to Paris and arranged an entire week of visits to all these fashion houses. So my son's fiance knows personally what effect Make a Wish can have on the future, and also some of the videos that I've seen from Make a Wish Israel are so heartwarming, because one little girl that was talking about her brain cancer when she was, I think she must have been about 5, and then we see her years later, and she's fine, and she talks about her experience, and it's just so heartwarming. So, what more can you think of than to help and reward children for their suffering? Because these children, I was involved. Also, I was president of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation in Israel, and it's just there's nothing like helping the vulnerable, and our children are the most vulnerable. So, Denise, thank you so much for joining me. As I said, anyone who wants to get more information about Make a Wish Israel, I'll be putting up the website. Denise will be in Los Angeles from the 29th through the 8th,
December 9th.
December
The 8th
9th,
or I
uh,
fly on the 9th, so
right,
the 8th.
of 2021 this year. If anybody would like to, you can get in touch with me or with Denise through Make a Wish in Israel, meet her, maybe get in touch with her. And I want to thank all of you for joining me again on my Burstyn and Friends, and we'll see you next time. So, oh yeah, before I forget, I always ask my guests this question, so I'm going to put it to you. If you can think of one person that influenced your life, that inspired your life, tell me who that would be.
I would say my brother David, without a doubt. David was the most philanthropic person that I knew, so he was my spark. During the holidays, especially Thanksgiving, he was at food kitchens, and it's just unbelievable because he had no idea that he would get sick. It was esophageal cancer, like you said, that just suddenly happened. So we would say, "What are you doing? Why aren't you with us?" He said, "It's important. It's important to me." He was involved with many different organizations to help. So he inspired me to do this, my husband and I. And yes, absolutely, absolutely. I must say that a dear friend of mine is doing a new movie that will be out soon called Golda. And how can I not admire Golda Meir as an American that moved to Israel and helped build the country with her strength as a Jewish American woman. So I admire her greatly and said that to him yesterday. Like, wow, it's quite unbelievable that you're doing a movie about a woman that I admire. So I have to say Golda Meir as well.
Okay. Well, let me wish you a happy Thanksgiving and a happy Hanukkah
Thank
coming
you.
up. And we'll see you soon in Los Angeles.
Okay, we're privileged to have you on our board. You are a dear, dear friend, my dear friend, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you, folks. And I'll see you next time on Mike Burstyn and Friends. Shalom.
Shalom.